What if a heist was never really about money, but about ego, art, and emotional destruction? Because in this world, nothing is ever just a robbery, and no one plays the game better than Berlin. Berlin is not your typical thief. He doesn't want quiet riches. He doesn't want escape. He wants something far more dangerous, a legacy. We begin in Seville, a city glowing with gold light, old palaces, and hidden sins beneath beauty. And here Berlin arrives with his crew. Damien, his closest strategist, Kayla, the digital genius, Bruce, the unpredictable chaos, Roy, Cameron, and a team built for impossible jobs. Their target seems simple at first: the Bank of Marbella, a vault filled with dirty money, oligarch fortunes, mafia wealth, illegal empires, 7,624 safety deposit boxes, and a Christmas weekend, 3 days when the city sleeps. For Damien, this is logic, clean, fast, controlled. But Berlin looks at it differently. He isn't impressed, because to him, it still feels too small. And that's when everything changes. At a glamorous yacht event, Berlin meets her, Genoveva Dante, the Duchess of Malaga. Elegant, dangerous, untouchable. Or so it seems. Berlin doesn't just flirt, he performs. He becomes Simone, a man with a fake noble past, soft lies, and perfect charm, and Genoveva falls into his orbit effortlessly. But what Berlin doesn't realize is that he is also being played, because Genoveva is not the target, she is the bait, and the trap is already closing. But nothing prepares Berlin for what comes next, because inside a private palace, he meets a man who changes everything: Álvaro Hermoso de Medina, the Duchess of Malaga. And this man doesn't threaten Berlin, he admires him, which is far more dangerous, because Álvaro knows everything: his past crimes, his stolen masterpieces, his invisible history. And then he makes an offer: not money, not escape, but a challenge. A single target. A painting. Leonardo da Vinci's The Lady with an Ermine. And just like that, the game changes forever. But Berlin is not just intrigued, he is insulted. And that insult will ignite everything. Berlin does not accept orders. He reshapes them. So when the Duke presents the job, Berlin reacts like an artist being mocked. This is not a request in his eyes. It is an attempt to control him. And Berlin hates control more than failure. But there is something deeper here, because the painting is not just valuable, it is untouchable. A Leonardo da Vinci masterpiece, a cultural artifact too famous to steal, which makes it perfect for someone like Berlin, because he doesn't want easy crimes, he wants impossible ones. But the truth is, the painting is not the real target. Kayla begins digging deeper, and what she discovers changes everything: a hidden estate, a fortified winery, a private tunnel system, security linked to elite European institutions like Sotheby's and the Louvre. Something is being hidden inside that location, something far bigger than art. Meanwhile, tension grows inside the crew. Damien sees what Berlin refuses to admit. This is not strategy. This is emotion. Berlin was manipulated by Genoveva, and now he is turning humiliation into a war plan. But Berlin fires back, hard, because Damien is not immune either. His plan exists only because he has no one waiting for him at Christmas. 2 none, 2 wounds, 2 broken forms of logic, and 1 impossible decision: bank robbery or art heist. But in reality, neither is the real story. Because in Berlin's world, the real currency is always emotional damage, and that damage is spreading, because the crew is no longer stable. Bruce has fallen deeply in love with Pela and decides to abandon his chaotic life. A symbolic farewell party, a man trying to become normal inside an abnormal world. But nothing stays normal for long, because Seville itself begins to breathe into the story. And then she arrives, Candela, and everything breaks again. Candela is not part of the plan. She is the disruption. She steals from Damien without him even noticing. And he doesn't feel angry. He feels impressed. That is the danger of her. Candela doesn't seduce, she overwhelms reality. She is fire disguised as a woman. She burns her ex's RV, laughs at heartbreak, turns revenge into performance art, and suddenly, Damian is no longer thinking logically, because Candela pulls him into her chaos. A stolen car, police closing in, a decision that makes no sense but feels right. Meanwhile, inside the main heist structure, Kayla uncovers the truth. The lady with an ermine is not the treasure. It is a distraction, a key, a signal. Something is hidden inside the Duke's protected estate, a collection, but no one knows what is inside yet, and that uncertainty is more dangerous than gold. Back in Berlin's world, the emotional tension explodes. The Duke is not just an enemy, he is a mirror, a man who studies Berlin like a collector studying an artifact, not to destroy him, but to use him. And Berlin cannot tolerate that, because Berlin does not accept being owned, he only accepts being feared. And now, for the first time, he is neither, and that is what makes him dangerous. But something even stranger happens, a hidden contradiction inside the mission. Cameron is sent on a side operation, a yacht mission that feels unnecessary. She reports findings to Berlin. Warnings are ignored. Signals of danger are overlooked. And yet, Berlin does nothing, almost as if the story itself is trying to remove her quietly from the board. And that raises a disturbing question. Is everyone here really part of the plan? Or are some pieces just meant to disappear?
Everything now collapses into one truth. This was never about a painting, never about a bank, never about money. It was about control. Berlin finally understands. The Duke did not hire him. He studied him. Genevieve was bait. The painting is bait. The estate is bait. Everything is layered deception, and behind it, a hidden collection worth far more than anything they expected. But even that is not the deepest layer, because the real heist is emotional. Every character is being pulled by desire. Bruce and Kayla building fragile love inside chaos. Damian losing himself to Candela's destruction. Berlin trapped between ego and obsession. And Alvaro watching it all unfold like a conductor. But Berlin is still Berlin, and he refuses to be a pawn. So he shifts the plan from theft to revenge, from strategy to domination. But the most dangerous part is not the plan, it's Berlin himself, because every decision he makes is now personal. And when emotion enters a heist, nothing survives intact. In the final stretch, alliances blur, truth collapses, and the crew is no longer stealing for survival. They are stealing to prove something, to the Duke, to each other, to themselves, and especially to Berlin, because he still believes one thing, that chaos can be controlled if he is the one holding the knife. But Seville proves otherwise. Love turns violent, loyalty bends, and even genius begins to fracture. By the end, nothing feels clean, nothing feels simple, only consequences remain. So what is Berlin and the Lady with an Ermine Season 1 really about? It is not a heist story. It is a story about people who think they are in control until desire takes over. Berlin does not walk into disaster. He dresses it up. He turns it into art. And that is why we watch him, because every plan he builds feels like it could either make him a legend or destroy everything around him. And sometimes it does both. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe for more movie explanations, hidden details, and story recaps. Because in Berlin's world, the real heist is never the money, it's the mind.